It's the Pikcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome
Hey.
to episode 26 of Pikcast. Today we have myself, I'm Nathan, CreativeSushi. We have Josh,
Hey.
otherwise known as JPM. And for the first time, we have QuoteBalrog.
Heyo.
And this is his first Pikcast. I think he's introduced, like, he's been in the live chat for a while.
And I think, talked about him a couple times.
Yeah, he's very active in the hacking. I mean, you guys probably know him before you know us, so. In all honesty.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were very excited about the new announcement that I'm sure y'all have heard about with Niantic. And we wanted to talk about that. We also wanted to go over some of our reviews, our impressions of Pikmin 3 Deluxe, since we haven't had a Pikcast since the release of Pikmin 3 Deluxe.
Although the reason for that is just mostly because everyone's super busy, so it's hard for us to sit down and.
I mean, this is
something.
This is the shortest Pikcast in terms of member count that we've ever had, and we really just wanted to get a Pikcast out to talk about this so that it didn't become old news. But the cost of that is that we can't really schedule with so many people and get a huge Pikcast.
Yeah. So numbers of future Pikcasts will probably fluctuate.
Yeah.
But that's just how it is.
Just so we can stay on top of stuff and not, miss out on big news and stuff. But yeah, so it's just the three of us today, and of course the live chat. Hello, everybody in chat. Gummy Pikmin Productions, Isaac Player, Super Mile Sela, and Passive Pasta. That's my girlfriend. Hello.
Hi, Nathan's girlfriend.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, really, I'm pretty sure it's pretty straightforward what we're going to be talking about. First up, I guess, is going to be Pikmin 3 Deluxe.
Yeah.
Which was a game that kind of released, and it was kind of out of nowhere, too.
Yeah, it didn't take a lot of time for us to get it from when it was announced, and it was announced so sporadically, and it was awesome, though. They added a bunch of cool stuff that wasn't in the original game.
The original.
A lot of, improvements in just the way the game plays. These little gameplay mechanics were improved here and there, especially with some of the controls, although many may put it that the Wii motion controls were better on the Wii U with the Wiimote. But some people didn't use those, and this is definitely the best implementation of a pro controller or typical controller that I could see with Pikmin 3.
Yeah, and even if with some of the wonkiness with motion controls, once you kind of get used to pressing the recalibration button, it doesn't really bother you that much.
Right. Yeah. Get used to it, and I feel like the Wii U allows for more. Well, with the new lock on thing, that adds an absurd amount of accuracy.
Yeah,
Pikmin
I feel like
throwing.
that kind of makes up for some of the wonkiness too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure on that one.
Yeah.
I sort of had to get used to the first one since I played the Wii U version a lot, and that sort of just coming off guard while seeing like the enemy's name and all that.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Like, for me, I didn't have a hard time as adapting to it just because I honestly, so this is something I can give praise to 3 Deluxe for. So when I play a video game, I can't just be like, oh, I just beat this video game, now I want to beat it again. Like, I know that there's some people like Paper Mario. Someone will beat Paper Mario and they're like, oh man, I can't wait to go and beat this game again. For me, it's like I have to wait like 5 or 6 years before I'm like, oh, I want to play it again. And I don't really know the reason why. I think it's just because I know what to expect. And so, like, if it's something like Paper Mario, where there is a big twist or something like that, like, oh, you found Tubba Blubba's heart in the well, that doesn't surprise me as much as, when I first played it and it was like, oh my God, this is some big, huge revelation. Whereas Pikmin 3 Deluxe, when I went through and played it for the first time, I was like, oh man, I feel like I'm playing Pikmin 3. I knew what to expect. But then right after I beat it, I was just sitting there thinking, wow, I cannot wait to beat this game again. And I think over the course of 3 days, I beat the main story twice.
Wow.
And then like 2-3 months later, I booted it up again, beat the story again over the course of like 2 days.
Wow.
Which is very rare for me when it comes to games. So that means they did something right.
Yeah, I think the only game that I've ever played immediately after beating it was Sonic Mania. I think that was the only game that I ever started playing after beating it immediately. But I didn't go all the way through on the second time, so even then it was like But Pikmin 3, I'd played that a million times on the Wii U. And I was watching my girlfriend play it as well while I was playing it, so I was enough under one feel of that, but yeah, Isaac Player in the chat says that Pikmin 3 Deluxe was the most extensive Wii U port of all time, which I would say is pretty close to the truth, with the exception of maybe Bowser's Fury.
Yeah, I would say probably up until Bowser's Fury, 3 Deluxe was by far the most complex and in air quotes intensive update with a port. Because I mean, you had things like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe added a whole new game mode, the battle game mode, which had shine sprite, item, coins, bombs, whatever.
Right.
And then I would say after that was Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, where they added that whole side story to it. And then past that, Pikmin 3 Deluxe for sure was the most updated thing, I guess, in terms of how much they added. Granted, a good chunk of it was stuff that through Data Mining 3 was planned but never made it. So it's cool at least to see that they were able to at least finish their plans. And then up until what was the game we just talked about? I can't believe I just
Bowser's Fury.
Yeah, Bowser's Fury, where they added an entire new game essentially with it, on top of including things like Super Luigi Bros, not Super Luigi, regular Luigi Bros, which I think might have been on the original 3D World. And even a lot of just the gameplay changes in 3D World was by more than 3 Deluxe, but up until that point, 3 Deluxe by far definitely worth $60.
Oh yeah. for sure.
for sure on that one.
Minty Mio says Tropical Freeze was the lamest for sure. I would agree with you if it wasn't for the Wonderful 101, which I feel like actually removed content from the
Oh,
Wii U version to an extent. I heard with like the touch controls and stuff that they had on the Wii U that they tried to implement it in such a weird way that it ended up making it like worse. So it's like a worse version of the game.
ooh.
I haven't played it. That's the second rate. That's me hearing it from somebody else, but that's what I heard. But yeah,
Yeah.
Tropical Freeze was pretty bad as well. Where they just added like, and so was New Super Mario Bros. U.
I was about to say, wasn't that one really lackluster?
That
Because
one was also
no, did they
lackluster.
include the Super Luigi U?
They did.
It did, yes.
Okay.
I think the only thing they added was like Toadette, and that's it.
Yeah. So at least it was still all like kind of a bundled package kind of thing. Like if you're a fan of 2D Mario like 2D Mario platformers, then I feel like it's a game that's like, oh, get this because you get Super Mario Bros. U, Super Luigi U.
Mm-hmm.
And was there some third thing, or was it just those two?
I think it's just those two, in addition to Toadette removing Yellow
Yeah.
Toad, I think.
Yeah.
Yellow or Blue Toad? I forgot who.
Oh, apparently New Super Mario Bros. U also removed content.
Yeah.
So, but so what was your guys' favorite thing that was new or added with 3 Deluxe?
Definitely side stories for me.
That's for me as well. I love the side stories. Just see how Olimar and Louie was doing on the side.
I was
Yeah.
I was hoping that my favorite part would be the new difficulty options. But I don't know. I was expecting the world. I'm an advanced Pikmin player, so I can't expect the the hard difficulty to
As
match my-
someone who isn't like a die-hard Pikmin player, I'm a huge Pikmin fan. I'm not a big Pikmin player. I felt that the ultra spicy mode was good in terms of difficulty. Obviously, you guys like to go hardcore with it, and it's definitely not hardcore. It's just more of getting used to management and all of that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think the way that the fruits and days and enemies were implemented in the harder mode were good. But I think that a 60 Pikmin count isn't all that different from a 100 Pikmin count in terms of combat.
yeah, in terms of
Yeah.
combat, it's different. It feels like it was catering more to like special runs. If that makes sense, like how there are people who do like, oh, only 50 Pikmin run or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 50 I feel like would have been a better number. Then they could say, oh, it's half the Pikmin count,
Yeah, and I did like the shorter days. They even
you-
changed enemy placement, all that kind of stuff.
You get like less fruit gain from like collecting fruit.
Less
juice.
juice. Takes more berries to make sprays, which I thought was like a really. It seems like such a minor thing. If that makes like spicy sprays, you like when you think Pikmin 3, you really don't think spicy sprays until 3 Deluxe came out.
Right.
At least for me, like maybe that was just a me thing, but like after seeing like a change like that, and even some like other small minor things that I noticed, I was like, wow, they really like wanted to emphasize the spicy spray to a degree.
Yeah, and that's one thing about Pikmin 3 is that I would have liked to see in the harder mode is like the ability to lose your flowers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because especially with that spicy spray and how it just automatically
Powers them up.
flowers. Yeah.
Yeah. The only time you just lose flowers if you get your Pikmin killed, and that's it.
Yeah.
Again, it definitely seems like 3, and both times it was released, was intended to at least spark interest in Pikmin again. Which, oh my god, 3 Deluxe definitely did that to an amazing degree.
Oh yeah. I mean, this Pikmin game is already the best-selling Pikmin game of all time.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Pikmin 3 Deluxe has gone over 2 million sales.
Yeah.
And that's only within, what, 4 or 5 months? 6 months?
Well, it met it, I think, within the first 3 months.
By January, yeah, it met it. It hit 1.9 million.
Yeah.
Which is already huge. It beat the highest selling Pikmin game before this was Pikmin 1 with like 1.2 million sales.
Yep.
So, which to me just blows my mind. And one thing that I enjoyed doing was watching people who had never either heard of Pikmin before, never played Pikmin game before, playing Pikmin 3 Deluxe for the first time and going through it. And it made me realize that even on easy mode, Pikmin is still a hard game for players who have never played the type of game that Pikmin is.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like watching some people, it was cool to watch people struggle and then learn from their mistakes and get better.
For sure.
Like it's there. Oh god, there's a Let's Player that I watched. I can't remember. He never even heard of Pikmin before. He originally thought that people were misspelling Pokemon when he initially heard it. So someone bought it for him. He's an Irish guy, if that narrows anything down whatsoever. I can't remember his name, but him going through everything and meeting characters, like the thing that I thought was hilarious, because for anyone who's played previous Pikmin games before, when all the Copites confuse Louis for Olimar, for a while he was just calling Louis Olimar, like, oh, we have to find this Captain Olimar guy, we have to find Olimar, figure out what's going on with him. And the only reason why he learned it wasn't Olimar was because he played Smash Brothers.
Huh.
And that was the only reason why he figured it out. And then he was really confused on why they were calling Louis Olimar the entire time. And then, and him meeting all the different types of Pikmin, he even went into challenge mode and met the purples and the whites. It wasn't Germa. I know that Germa played Pikmin 2. I still have to watch the archive on that.
Yeah, that's something that happened since the last Pikcast.
Germa plays.
Yeah.
We could get Germa on Pikcast.
Oh man,
get him in there.
I'd love to, but he would never.
But yeah, and I like seeing how many. I was surprised to see how many people were playing 3 Deluxe. Like, I remember looking up Pikmin 3 Deluxe just Let's Plays, and there's so many people who wanted to do Let's Plays of it. Like, one that I distinctly remember was, and it looked like one of those kind of clickbaity kind of review channels. There were these 2 twin girls who they never played video games. Like, the whole thing, you were expecting them to be bad at video games. And I remember one of them was really getting into and enjoying the game, because for a while they were only allowed to play up to I think it was the demo. They were playing the demo, and so they made it up to the Foz. No, it wasn't the demo. They would play up to the Fozbet, and that was all that they were allowed to show off for the week, was basically the first half of the game up until getting Charlie. And I remember they were they didn't really even know how to use a Switch. And 3 Deluxe taught them how to not only use a Switch, but also get comfortable with the video games. They were able, how when someone's first new to something, they won't remember that it's called a ball borb or anything like it. And the first, I think they had 7 episodes. The first few episodes, they were still basic things they're messing out. And then the later half, they're doing pretty well compared to the start. And I was like, wow, this Pikmin 3 even teaches people how to play Pikmin 3 well. Something that I feel that Pikmin 1 and 2 don't really do a good job at doing is teaching you how to play well. But seeing how people were able to basically zero knowledge go up to playing well, I thought was just a really cool thing to see. And that's something I really like from 3 Deluxe.
Yeah, I think that the data files very much help for that factor there. Just explaining almost every enemy you encounter during the right time.
Yeah, not only that, but then also just the story. How I know a lot of people don't really play Pikmin for story, but the story actually wasn't just more of a shoehorn kind of thing. It really did explain why you're going in a specific direction for what purpose and what to expect.
Yeah, I did really like the new implementation of the data files. It was a lot more useful.
Yeah.
Even after playing the game, I could tell that it was more useful. It's more accessible. It's less annoying to use because you had to use the gamepad for that. And it just seemed kind of silly. Really good implementation in the deluxe version with the notepad, and that's why I really like the deluxe version so much, is because they didn't have to go through all this and change these things to make them better, but they did. Like, there wasn't a selling point that they were like, hey, we updated all the notes so that they're easier to read and more detailed on what they're actually talking about, and you can go back and access it. And there's more of them. There are actually more of them. Than in the original game. It's like none of that they had to do.
Like when you said where they went like really hard with it, like even visual details. Like I feel like they really sat down, looked at Pikmin 3 and was like, what can we do to make this game as good as it can possibly be without deviating too far from it, without, going overboard. Because if they go overboard, they could just start making a different game. And things like where every single gate was visually different.
Yeah.
Which was like a huge thing. Like it's such a minor thing, but then you're going through and you're like, that's a big deal. There's like how many? There's like 9 different electric gates or something like that. No, 4 different electric gates, 9 different dirt walls. All that kind of stuff. My favorite is in the Tropical Wilds, the stone walls that have the cave paintings.
Oh yeah,
like the cave carvings on the side of Olimar being like super big and buff.
I love that one.
And just all of that, and even just like some of the just super minor tweaks. Like I know that apparently in a couple, like even visually, like in the Garden of Hope, it's not just, oh, this is a garden area and now it's all flooded. It's like there's actual progression between garden to mud.
Yeah.
Oh, and then even things,
and just the colors on the Switch look so much better.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite changes was the Twilight River, where they just make like that north bank just all grassy, which I don't know why they did it. It looks really, really nice. They probably did it because an artist got bored and was like, I want to make this grass. But
yeah,
that was something that was cool.
The one thing I will say, and this is actually kind of going into the side stories, although that they made all of these amazing changes to the accessibility and the just quality of life changes, the way things look, the way things perform, I will say that the level design in the side stories, in my opinion, was not quite as intricate as the original like mission mode levels. Personally,
I definitely, I do feel though that I think it really kind of starts kicking up with the Olimar's comeback. Like it feels like Olimar, what was it? Olimar's Return? Or no, Olimar's Assignment was really more for people still learning, because you get that once you rescue Charlie, you unlock that. And so it's all, and I did not expect those to be super hard levels, but then with Olimar's comeback, sure, they weren't necessarily hard in the same sense, but they were still, much more in depth, much more intuitive, and the fact that it actually is like more story that kind of sums everything up, like basically ties up all the loose ends pretty well. I think it was more of Olimar's Assignment was, hey, you're learning Pikmin. You want to learn the backstory of who Olimar and Louie is, because it's been 16 years since really there's been an original game with them. Well, here you go. And then Olimar's comeback was, hey, you played Pikmin before. You know these characters. Want to see some fun bonus stuff. Because that's what it felt like. Everything with it felt like 3 Deluxe feels like that's kind of them trying to do their best at an anniversary game.
Yeah, I can see that. And I will say as well that, while I kind of give them crap saying that the level design isn't as good, they were reusing previous levels rather than developing new levels for these, which is a lot harder to do. Especially, Quote and I know this from 2 years ago when we were trying to turn the Garden of Hope into a bingo battle stage.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like they were copying.
Yeah.
I was sort of neglecting the mod. It's like, this feels familiar of the
Yeah.
source when I see it.
Exactly. I had the same instinct when I first booted that up. And I'll say, of course, they have more things in their toolbox that they can go for than Quote and I did. But it's not easy repurposing a stage that was developed with a specific interest in mind.
Yeah.
It's really not easy. And, overall, I think they did a pretty decent job at it.
Yeah, I think that my favorite thing is the Twilight River going dry.
Oh, yeah.
And that was something that's just, and it wasn't until I recently, replayed it again that I realized that the whole quote unquote plot with the Twilight River is when the Copites break the dam, it causes all the water to drain out of the river faster, which is why it dries up in the side stories.
Yeah.
When because goes back. Is the interaction of the Copites.
Yeah.
I actually never knew about that. Dang.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out, why did the river go dry? Because they even talk about, it's wasn't there a river here before? And then I was like, wasn't there a river here before? And I'm like, there was. Why isn't there a river? Because the dam got broke. Because that's something that happens in real life. That's why dams are made, because it helps with regulating the water flow. If there's no dam, there's no river. So, but one thing from 3 Deluxe that really surprised me, and I think surprised everyone else, they added an achievement system.
Oh yeah.
Because I played the game A Short Hike recently. There's achievements in that game, but it's not like, it's more of something happens, you go and check your achievement. Oh, I got this. 3 Deluxe is like, oh, you did this one thing. It pops up in the top left, like, Xbox or PlayStation with their, achievements, or like Steam, where there's the pop up like in TF2, and you hear everybody cheering because you got the achievement. It does a similar kind of thing where it pops up. Yeah. And it's like the whole brief explanation on what it is on there. And I was like, that's really cool.
It is really cool. And I love the design of the badges.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, I want all of those badges as physical pins.
I know. Oh, I was the guy doing all the badge articles. So I was looking at those things for hours. The intricacy and the theming that they did for all of the different badge types. And I tried to, record it as best I could on the wiki, is so nice and so fluid. Mm-hmm. It's going to sound like a no dirt that you can tell they had people who knew art patterning well with GUI and icons, if that makes sense, with GUI and icons and all of that, because when you do stuff like that, you always have to keep things within a certain theme, or else it just confuses players. They did that so well that going through the article, even if it was they uploaded, a video in Japan that's 10 minutes long, and I'm sitting there for 2 hours going through the same 10-minute footage. If there was a badge there, it was nice to look at the badge, because everything is just so nice to look at.
My only wish is that there were more.
Same.
I wish that there were more achievements. I feel like, a couple of them, one playthrough of the game, you're going to get 90% of the badges.
Yeah.
And you can kind of go back and get some of them, but then 2 of them are going to take you hours of just kind of grinding to get. Specifically the hidden images.
The hidden, the archaeology.
You have to try to go for that one.
Yeah, those are hidden very well if you're new to the game. I have no clue where they are.
Yeah.
I feel a lot of even the story ones too are even the ones where it's, gather the exploration notes, complete the Piclopedia, like those there. That too is needing to go through and really explore. Like I would say they're about the same par as the archaeologist ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I did like some of the fun ones. Like my favorite achievement, honestly, is where you have to kill 3 enemies with 1 bomb rock. Because, and I want to say it's because one of us or some other, diehard Pikmin group threw a bomb rock into that one clipboard in the Twilight River that's full of like 9 bulb orbs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel every single Pikmin fan saw that and did that. It's so satisfying. And I remember seeing that and I was like, I wonder how I could do that. I think I got it by accident like earlier on, but I remember that was the one, like as soon as I saw that achievement was a thing, I was like, oh, I know exactly where to do this.
See, actually, my instinct when I saw that achievement was the 3 orange bulb orbs in Twilight
Same.
River.
That was my first thought as well.
And I think it's just because the number of 3 is what made me want to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that clipboard of dwarfs is certainly iconic. I mean, it was even in Sprout Posting's new video. If y'all saw that.
I think my favorite achievement was like the punching one, because from what I noticed on my comments, everything else, people have no clue how to punch in Pikmin 3, and I'm still shocked by that to that day.
Yeah. With the secret ones is that they're not really difficult. It's just more of you'll get them sooner if you know Pikmin.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that makes me feel like this is very much them trying to make this an anniversary kind of game, or like a celebration of Pikmin kind of game, because there's quite a few things that really reward players who already know, who've played Pikmin before. Like anyone who's played Pikmin 2 and they play Pikmin 3 Deluxe, they see the Piclopedia, they're going to be like, I want to fill that out and I want to see all of the information. Or, I want to punch an enemy to death because that's funny. Haha. Oh, I got an achievement for it. Okay. Things like that.
Yeah.
And this is just a fun fact because I stared at the badges for so long. The Power Surge achievement, the use a spicy spray to power up a Pikmin achievement, is the only achievement with a unique badge background shape. And what I mean by that is that any achievements that are set to a specific theme have a certain shape. So like if you're killing a boss, it's going to be a diamond. If, it's a difficulty related one, it's going to be on that like hanging pennant. If it's, I'm just trying to think of another example. If it's the archaeology related ones, it's going to be a shield,
Yeah.
Stuff like that. The Power Surge is the only one that has a unique background, which is another one of the reasons why I was thinking that they were kind of emphasizing Spicy Spray more, because it doesn't really make sense for it to be all by itself unless at some point they plan to have more Spicy Spray related things.
Yeah.
Oh, look at it more. Yeah, I see what you mean by that.
So, yeah, but the badges I think are my favorite part of it. And I hope that in future Pikmin titles, even if they were not, knock on wood, they release a, 1 and 2 remastered thing. They add badges into it. Or even in just Nintendo games in general, they add badges. Like, I know that there's their new server thing, their new servers that either have already been integrated or about to be integrated, because Monster Hunter Rise, the first game that's going to be using them, comes out in 3 days. I'm hoping that they do something similar to an achievement system in future games.
It would be cool if the Switch had support for like all games to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be cool.
And it's possible they could update it to do so.
That's true.
So,
yeah.
And that's, it's definitely something that I personally like. I always love getting achievements in games.
Same. Yeah. You just feel like rewarded once you get it. You're like,
yeah,
I did that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, so my to kind of go off of like my favorite part of the Deluxe, I would say my favorite part of the story mode, side stories, is the new music. Like I absolutely love.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bobby is like the perfect composer to have picked for
I
that
think her
role.
name is Baby.
Baby, are you sure?
I think Babi, because when you say Bobby, all I could think of is, dang it, Bobby. It's me, Super Bobby. So,
Uh,
so
Man.
I think it's supposed to be pronounced Baby. And if you want to be technical about it, as far as we're aware, she didn't compose for any of the that she didn't compose any of the music, but they did go to her to help with creating the music. Because if you look in the credits, the actual like the music team for EAD, I forget what their names are credited, but they give special thanks to Baby, which tells me that what was it that
Well-
she helped out significantly with at least the
if
how to
you
compose for it.
if you go on Bobby's or Baby's Twitter, she actually gives specific credit to all of the musicians.
Oh, does she?
Yeah. So I do believe that she composed the songs. I mean, she wasn't, she obviously didn't play every instrument. It was a
Yeah.
live recording. But I do believe that was her doing. Because if you go and look at the other, musicians like Twitter's page, they're all saying like, yeah, it's Bobby's music.
Hmm.
No real way to know for sure, but I will say that since Pikmin 3 Deluxe has come out, I have purchased all of Baby's albums. I need to figure out if it's Baby or Bobby. I hope it's Bobby because well, now what you said makes it so much better, but
So one thing that was funny, because I found her YouTube channel where she's
Yeah.
uploaded some of her songs, and she's really popular with French, in France. Granted, because she has a very unique style of jazz to her music. That's technically what her genre is for her music, is like sort of freestyle jazz, which is popular in France. But then you see all these other people saying, it's like, oh, this music sounds terrible. Oh, this sounds, bad. This doesn't make any sense to it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I feel somewhat cultured now because I like this music.
yeah. Yeah.
And
dude.
for those of you in watching who don't know, Bobby, Baby, whatever you want to, however her name is pronounced, she is a musician / composer who did all the music for the side stories. So if the side story music sounds really, really weird and different compared to normal Pikmin music, which is usually much more ambient and mellow, she is that reason why. I don't know. We don't really know why she was picked. I think it was because they wanted to go for a much more kind of goofier,
Well,
I guess,
mean, a lot of
unquote,
her.
older school feel to her music.
I felt like a lot of her music is reminiscent of Pikmin 2 music, honestly.
That's what I was thinking too.
And I think they should definitely go with her going forward for the series, or at least replicate that style because it works. It works for the series, I think, really well.
Yeah, it worked really, really well. I feel like if in a future Pikmin game they have like character themes similar to how like Alf, Brittany, and Shirley had their own themes, I think that she would be perfect for making those kinds of themes for introducing characters or certain events that happen. Maybe not, a full level that's just her music, because I feel like that would be like, okay, I'm going a little crazy now at this point, but definitely something for more audio cues and everything. She definitely did a really good job with, composing, and I think Nintendo did a right decision of working with her and having her make the music for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, does anybody else have anything else to say about Pikmin 3 Deluxe before we move on?
I have yet to play co-op. Next time we have a meetup, I definitely want to play through the game co-op.
There is really.
Oh yeah, co-op story.
Yeah, there is one cool thing about co-op story that I think was really cool, and it's sort of like, and this is interesting because Pikmin 3 didn't really have this element of co-op. In Pikmin 3, you could not throw your teammates if they were playing as another captain.
Yeah.
In in the main storyline, and I don't know if they updated mission mode to do this or not. I don't think they did.
They didn't. I tried it earlier, like a few days ago.
Yeah,
and you
I
still
think that
can't
would
your
have.
teammates.
I think that would have broken some of the strategies for those levels
Yeah.
if they had. But they have this cool thing where you can throw your own teammates, but it's not just that. It also makes them part of your squad. So like they're controllable, but they're also part of your squad, which means it goes into a single screen mode rather than split screen.
Oh, that's cool.
And the second player can move around while you're still the captain. And they have like a distance radius that they can stay from you. So it's like two different ways that you can do it. And I'm pretty sure when you're in that mode, you share the same Pikmin army.
Oh,
Yeah.
again, I've never played co-op. I don't have anyone to play with, so
Yeah, so
hearing
when
it makes it
it's in
sound
that
really,
mode-
really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
I rarely play.
It's not like the best optimal thing for the second player, but it's very situational, but it was neat to mess around with. It's cool
Yeah.
that you can kind of like switch between those two. Maybe if you have somebody playing with you that isn't as exposed to the game and can't just go free reign on their own, you can have them sort of as a
Your toddler leash.
yeah. Just put them on a leash.
All right, let's go here.
I was worried that the co-op was going to be, and I get because I haven't played really a Lego game in years. Lego Jurassic Park. It had terrible split screen co-op
Really?
because essentially what it would be like, there'd be the person on the left, person on the right, and there'd be the thing in the middle. But as the person moves, the divider moves. So if someone goes up on the right-hand side, it starts turning the divider diagonal.
Yeah.
And so the person could literally start walking around the other person, and it'll cause the divider to start spinning in circles.
I could agree on that because I played that sort of game with multiplayer and it was terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely awful.
Yeah, RSAMV in the chat says I want Pikmin 3 online. That was probably the most disappointing thing, is that it didn't have online play, but I also wasn't really expecting it,
Yeah,
anticipating
I know a lot of
Yeah.
people were expecting it. I'm sitting there thinking, I didn't even expect co-op
Yeah.
in story.
Yeah.
I will say though, I think Nintendo's going to have a hard time making a Pikmin 4 that doesn't have any sort of online play.
Yeah.
I think at this point it's like, okay, what are you doing, Nintendo?
I remember when 3D World came out on Switch, and it was announced that, they're not using Nintendo's new servers, which I don't know was surprising to anyone because it was announced that Monster Hunter Rise was going to be the first game to use the new servers. But Espio, for those of you who don't know, Espio is one of the big bosses of Wikipedia. He explained exactly why it would be difficult to take an older game that wasn't designed with that kind of server in mind. I can't remember the exact specifics of it, but he basically said that how 3D Worlds online works is that essentially it goes off of whoever the laggiest person is, which is, typical peer-to-peer fashion. But the reason why that's the case is because if it were to go by a set standard, that one person would then essentially would be unable to play, essentially, just because he's too far away from his friend, geographically or whatever. And he was explaining that on the back end, it's programmed in a specific way with peer-to-peer so that everyone has an even gameplay field, so it's the most fair experience. So if let's just say, Nathan has god tier internet, he lives in Sweden and he can connect to Martian servers. And I'm stuck in Australia where a fax machine causes all the Wi-Fi in the neighborhood to crash. Because of how Nintendo's old servers work, it would reduce his online connection to boost mine. So even though I have, garbage net, Nathan has this amazing net, it would even itself out. So still it's a little laggy, but I would still be able to play at a playable online, at a playable pace, Whereas Nathan, both of us would be able to. The only problem would just be whoever has the better internet would suffer a little bit in order so that worse people with worse internet can play to have a little bit of fun. I guess it's a little weird of an explanation, but
Yeah.
And then just because I see RSAMV talking about it, it wouldn't be easy for them to update old games with the new servers. I remember SBO had specifically mentioned that too, because so much of the back end of the game is specifically designed with old servers in mind. It honestly wouldn't be worth all of that effort for an old game to work properly. Like if they were to take Mario Kart 8 and, the only update they do is to fix it to new servers, that really wouldn't do much. Now, if it was something like Smash Brothers, sure, where they're still releasing new content, it would definitely be more intuitive for them to do that. But even then, it's still iffy. Whereas in an upcoming game like Splatoon 3 or Monster Hunter Rise, where they're designed with the servers in mind, that essentially is them setting up for the next generation of their console, whether it's Switch Pro or what have you, instead of worrying about, making sure Phantasy Star Online 2 for the GameCube can still be compatible with the new servers. It's better to just focus on the new incoming stuff, as much as it sucks for players who enjoy the older stuff like Mario Maker 2. I know struggles with the servers. It's better to kind of just move on, unless they do plan on updating everything, which that would be absolutely insane of them, but it's possible.
Yeah. I wouldn't get your hopes up.
Yeah, I wouldn't get your hopes up. If they do it, amazing. If they don't,
Pikmin 4.
or yeah, I would say it would be better for waiting for Pikmin 4 to have some sort of online play before expecting Pikmin 3 Deluxe to get an update for it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, do we want to move on to the more recent news?
Yes.
Sure.
So, as you guys probably know,
or maybe because people are still finding out.
Maybe not. It's fairly new. Niantic, the developers of Pokemon Go, as well as a Harry Potter app and their own game called Ingress, are making a Pikmin game, a Pikmin smartphone app that will work in a similar fashion to Pokemon Go, where how walking in the real world gets you benefits in the game.
Yeah, we really don't have a lot of details on even what it is. Pre-registration just opened up like yesterday with the announcement.
Yeah, so if you guys want to pre-register for updates, check out Niantic's Twitter, and they have a link there where you can put in like your email address. But I mean, if you're a Pikmin fan, you'll know anyway. So
Yes.
although they might, say, hey, we're gonna send out demos to a certain number of users, so it might be worth, putting your email in. I did.
Same.
Yeah, I pre-registered for it literally the minute I found out about it.
Right. Yeah. Same.
God.
We do know a couple things. We know that Mii characters are going to be in this game. We know that because of a trademark that they trademarked Niantic, Nintendo, Pikmin, and Mii characters. So in some capacity, Mii characters will be added. Sorry, what?
I'm sort of imagining for the Mii characters to sort of be like in the same clothes for that one game on the Wii U. For like being dressed up as Olimar.
Yeah.
That's what I imagine.
Like they'd be player avatars.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Yeah, I think Niantic, they like their like somewhat realistic people. I mean, it could be a Nintendo decision, Nintendo, this is Nintendo. Pokemon is kind of Nintendo, but they only
own 30% of the stuff with Pokemon.
They're only like kind of Nintendo. They don't really treat things the same way. Nintendo, Pikmin is Nintendo, right? So they're very protective of their IPs. So I'm very curious as the kind of things we're going to see and how open they're going to be with the series and the sort of updates and stuff that are going to come out for this.
Could be, and I know a lot of the people will be like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" With Hey Pikmin, was Nintendo really kind of starting to open up a little bit with letting third parties interact with their IPs in terms of making games? Because like, Hey Pikmin was not a Nintendo-made game.
Right.
It was made by Arzest, which I feel a lot of people for some reason just like to forget about.
Pikmin 3 Deluxe wasn't either. Pikmin 3 Deluxe was not fully developed by Nintendo. Most of
No, but they still Nintendo still had a lot of like, control over it. But whereas like Hey Pikmin definitely seemed much more like a third party. Like you can tell if you were to play Pikmin 3 Deluxe and you were to play Hey Pikmin, you could tell which one was definitely more third party.
Of course. And I mean, Hey Pikmin isn't a mainline series game either.
Yeah.
It's a spin-off, so
But
I'd imagine it'd be a little bit more.
I bring that up because over the course of time, which I think only two instances, Nintendo had opened up more with allowing other companies mess with their IPs, because there was Mario Rabbids.
Yep.
Which was a huge deal. Mario got a gun. And then Legend of Hyrule. No, what was it? Cadence of Hyrule?
Cadence of Hyrule, yeah.
Which
Crypt of the
has getting
Necrodancer.
DLC or has gotten a DLC already.
Yeah, I got 3 DLC packs.
Yeah, which is made by the folks who make Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Right, it's a sequel to that game.
So, and on top of that, there was also the whole thing with Koei. What are they called? Koei Tecmo? I forget what they're called. The folks that make the Dynasty Warrior games. They have 2 Hyrule Warrior games now. One of them is actually canon, which is a big, big deal. Even though that one had much more Nintendo involvement with it, still, they're opening up little by little for third parties to be more involved with their IPs.
And I mean, almost none of the smartphone apps were developed by Nintendo.
Yeah.
I think maybe Mario Run was.
Mario Run was the only one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all the other ones, like the Dr. Mario game, Mario Kart.
Pocket Camp, I think.
I don't know. I don't know if Pocket Camp was made by Nintendo.
For sure.
I'm not sure about that. But like Hyrule Warriors, they didn't make that. The Dr. Mario game, the Mario Kart, they didn't make those.
Really? They didn't make the Mario Kart? Like that was like almost all third party, because the Mario Kart game was a lot of fun. I hope that they incorporate stuff from the Mario Kart game in the next Mario Kart game.
Oh, really?
Oh my god!
That's something else too.
What was that?
That's something else to bring up too. A lot of the smartphone games got sequels shortly after coming out with a smartphone game. I mean, Mario, Animal Crossing, Fire Emblem. I think even Dr. Mario's gotten a
no, Dr. Mario didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Mario didn't.
Mario Kart didn't.
Mario Kart didn't. And then Dragalia Lost. That's Nintendo's first mobile IP. So mobile only IP, I should add. So nothing really too crazy, but still, it's definitely interesting to see.
So let's talk about what we might see in this game. First of all, from the image that we were shown, we can see that the flowers on the Pikmin's heads are different colors, like from the norm. I mean, usually red, blue, and yellow Pikmin always have white flowers, but in the screenshot they have red, yellow, and blue flowers, which seem by random, which are assigned. Probably some sort of gameplay element. The idea my girlfriend had was that it could be something like Pokemon Go, where they had the teams that you could select from. Like it could be Team Instinct, Team Mystic, Team Valor. Could be something like that, and that would actually kind of stay true to the Pikmin series, how in like Bingo Battle, the colors on the flowers change based on what team you're on. Could be something like that.
Yeah.
I
Or it
can't
could be
wait to get
completely
into
free.
gang wars with people in the woods over Pikmin. This is the future that I want in my life.
We do know that we are going to be walking around with the Pikmin, but we don't really know more than that. We don't know if they have said specifically it's not going to be a lot like Pokemon Go. It's going to be very different from Pokemon Go. But I will say one thing. Niantic uses the same technology for all three of their games. With they use Google Maps and they use all these different waypoints and stuff. The Pokestops, like in the other two games, are also structures in those games. Like they translate directly.
Oh yeah, all
Yeah.
the different
Gyms.
What was that? Do you remember when we were one of the meetups a while ago, and there was just an old abandoned water tower in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah. Yeah, they had some interesting
It's
Pokestop
I don't know
locations.
how they get assigned, but I just remember the old ruined water tower.
I know I heard news report before where someone's house got like assigned as a Pokestop, and they just
Oh,
called
yeah.
mechanic to just take it down, please.
Yeah, because they got a
Just a
bunch of
lot
people
for
showing up at their
visiting.
house. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a
My
mess.
hope is that Pikmin fans will at least behave better than Pokemon fans in that regard.
Well, that's the thing too, is I think that this game is going to reach out a lot more than any Pikmin game has. I mean, it's going to be a free to play game. This is definitely going to bring a lot of attention to the series. And
Yeah.
I'm very excited
Yeah,
for
for
that.
sure.
This might be like the biggest marketing that Pikmin has ever received, really. The biggest marketing push.
I made a joke earlier with a couple other Wikipedia members that Nintendo is no longer asking for people to become Pikmin fans. They are now demanding people to be Pikmin fans.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
And I
on
wanna
everybody's
point out-
phone now.
I want to point out that because I saw a lot of people when after Pikmin 3 released, people were saying that Nintendo doesn't love Pikmin. I want all of those people who said that shut, because anyone and everyone who's actually paid attention to Pikmin will see that Nintendo loves Pikmin a lot. They want Pikmin to be successful, which is why Pikmin 1 and 2 got re-releases on the Wii. Pikmin 3 got 3 Deluxe. They let a third party make a Pikmin game, like a pretty decently long Pikmin game at that. It wasn't like, some 5-hour long thing. It was a longer game.
Yeah.
All the animations for data transfers that involve Pikmin. The fact that there are Pikmin hidden at Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios Japan. All these different things,
Which is the only other Nintendo represent other than Mario.
Yeah.
You.
Or and this is the thing that I love. When Pikmin 3 Deluxe was being announced, I wish I could remember his name. The two guys that were showing off Pikmin 3 Deluxe's co-op. They work at Nintendo of America. I can't remember their name. Oh my god, it's gonna bother me because I even half jokingly, I'm serious about it, inviting them onto a Pikcast. Because one of them is like a die-hard Pikmin fan, and he was talking about how he had a Pikmin silverware set from when he went to Japan in 2001. And like they have people who are dying, who like they have people who work there who love Pikmin. They said they had weekly bingo battle tournaments. Numerous, Reggie, Iwata, Miyamoto especially, Doug Bowser, Bill Trennan, they've all said that they love playing Pikmin. And so the only reason why they don't make more Pikmin games, and I feel anyone who knows anything about the basics of money, they just never sold well.
Yeah.
Until now.
Until now.
And now, and now that the fact that there's a free-to-play phone game.
Yeah, because it's like
Pokemon Go.
I was so excited with Pikmin 3 Deluxe because it's like, wow, this game is on a console that people actually own. This is going to be the most accessible Pikmin has ever been. And then they went and put it on smartphones, and it's like they just stepped themselves up. It's like they're even more accessible, which is exactly what you were saying. It's like now they're forcing us to be Pikmin fans.
And I want people, because there are people out there who will still unironically say that Nintendo does not love Pikmin. You just genuinely refuse to pay attention to things. I'm getting unnecessarily serious about this, but that's something that kind of bothers me, just because I've done a little bit on the developer side when it comes to video games. And so I kind of understand from a developer's perspective on why certain things would be done. And so when I see people say like, "Oh, Nintendo doesn't love Pikmin," and I'm like, maybe if you bought more Pikmin stuff, I don't know, maybe they'd pay more attention to it. Just saying.
Josh, please, I've already bought so much Pikmin stuff.
How many copies of Pikmin 1 do you have now?
Pikmin 1 specifically, I think like 5.
Dang.
I don't know. Luther bought Pikmin 3 like 4 different times for different people.
I mean, if
I've
you
bought it 3 different times.
are you including like GameCube, Wii, digital copies, everything?
Yeah.
Then I probably have like 7.
You're going all out there.
But yeah, and I do hope that with now there is sparks of interest in Pikmin. Like I said, seeing all these Let's Players come up out of nowhere, and then the Pikmin community kind of migrating to them and being like, "Oh yeah, you should do this, this. You should do this or this." People who before were just saying, "Oh yeah, I enjoyed Pikmin back on the GameCube," are going out and being like, "Wow, I forgot that Pikmin was even a franchise that I loved playing."
Yeah,
You know,
I've seen that a lot too. It's like,
Dang,
oh, I
like,
forgot about that game.
Everywhere.
Today I was I recently purchased a house, and I went to go view it. I had it inspected and whatnot, and the inspector saw my license plate, which is Pikmin 4, and he's like,
Jesus.
"Yo, I know that game," and I'm like, "Hey, that's
Immediately.
awesome. Not a lot of people do," but he worked at GameStop, so.
But yeah, and so seeing that makes me happy inside, because I always love proving people wrong. That's kind of one of my downsides with my personality, but also B, because I don't know, it really kind of
Josh.
what?
Sorry, I'm just gonna say everybody likes proving people wrong.
It's true.
You
Oh no,
just-
there's some
You
don't.
just
There's-
love it.
I do. I love it. I love bragging about it. I've been banned from Steam discussions numerous times. I've been banned from Reddit numerous times. You have no idea. I got muted in RuneScape for 3 days at one point. Like, you don't
They
even
hated
know.
him for speaking the truth.
So, yeah, it's funny you consider it too. I feel like a lot of even Pikmin fans, though, like there are people who are like, Pikmin fans say they're starving for Pikmin content. And it's like, Nintendo is starving for Pikmin content. Now they have excuses to make more. So it's just something that I'm glad. That's the big thing that I'm hoping for from this, is that once we get Pikmin Go, whatever it's going to be called, that it hopefully at least, retains some amount of player base for more than, 2-3 months.
Oh, dude. Well, Pokemon Go still has a huge player base. So
Pokemon.
Yeah.
it's Pokemon. You're right. It is Pokemon, but Pokemon Go increased the sales of Pokemon games. Like,
That's true.
as a franchise,
Oh,
Pokemon
yeah.
Go brought more attention to Pokemon, which we already thought was impossible. But
yeah.
but I have no doubt in my mind that this game will bring more fans to the series. Regardless of how successful the game is, I know Nintendo has had a couple apps that did not take off. Miitomo, Mario Run are the two, really, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those
Everything else
games,
honestly did pretty well.
those games were weird. They're untraveled territory. Now there is one other game that is similar to this style of game that was not developed by Niantic, which is Minecraft Earth. That game did not do well, and it kind of fell. But Niantic has a track record. All 3 of their games, not all 3 of them are as successful as Pokemon Go, but all 3 of them are successful and are still have a player base today.
Yeah.
And one of them is their own IP. So it just shows that they're a good developer, and I have high hopes that they've been working on this game since 2018, which actually brings me.
They've said that they've worked on it for a couple years now.
Well, they said that they've worked on it for a couple years, but it's also been said that this game is developed by a new branch of Niantic called Niantic Topio Development, which was founded in 2018. And this is their first project. This is their first game.
Ooh.
So this game, you can probably assume it's been in the works since this company was developed. It's
going to be like Dragalia Lost all over again. Dragalia Lost was made by a different team on Cygames, and which was a big deal because it was Nintendo's first IP. And the really kind of only member of the development team who had any experience with any of Cygames' other games, like Grand Blue. I think they worked on an Azure Lane game, other kind of gacha mobile games, was their president. And he even said himself when he stepped down that the only reason why he was stepping down was because it was not his game. He was there to just make sure everything ran smoothly for a year.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with Niantic. I'm hopeful because fresh blood with being led by kind of more experienced folks has at least proven itself once with the Nintendo's mobile games to be an extremely good decision. And that was with Dragalia Lost, which is, in my opinion, one of the most unnecessarily in-depth, flexible phone games ever.
Yeah. In
terms of play, what there's available to do, what you can do, alternative ways of playing it. It's crazy. And so, and I know I've seen people talking about, it's like, oh, well, why don't they just make Pokemon Go better? Which first off, I'm like, it's typical Pokemon fan. And then I'm like, well, it makes sense that they'd be upset about it. But
well, trust me, they are making Pokemon Go better.
Yeah. And that, again, I don't play Pokemon Go, but from what I've seen and heard, a lot of people are defending Pokemon Go in its current state, saying that they have been making an effort on making things better. Is it buggy? Yeah, that's just inevitable with video games.
Go buggy? Pokemon Go isn't that buggy. Not nowadays.
There's some people who say that there's some people, it could be people trying to overplay things.
There have been events where there have been like lag spikes and stuff and people getting shut off. But in terms of just general, like most of the time gameplay, there's not much buggy with it in my experience. I mean, maybe if you're playing online, there's like lag issues, but
yeah, if we can get someone like Tommy who like plays the game die hard, he'd probably be a much better resource for stuff like that. But
yeah,
well, I've been playing Pokemon Go pretty much die hard for the last 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm really into Pokemon Go, and it just makes me so excited for this because Pokemon Go, that game speaks to me. That's a game I really enjoy, and I've been taking a break recently, but part of that's winter and part of it's COVID, but I really enjoy that, and the fact that they're making Pikmin, I'm so excited about it. I have high faith in Niantic. They haven't failed once. All of their games have been successful, and I really have high hopes. But I do want to.
My big thing is just that I want Pikmin to do better, so I'm gonna take the L and say like, oh, if they it sounds weird to say casualizing in a Pikmin game. We're making it for casuals, but I always like more. I like things sticking true to their roots or sticking true to the same kind of idea or formula kind of thing. I actually like Hey Pikmin because even though its gameplay is completely different, everything else still feels very much the same to a Pikmin title for me. So I'm hoping that they don't deviate too far, but when it comes to what we know of, which is AR Pikmin game, I feel like I'm gonna have to take the L on that and just be like, okay, things are probably gonna be different from a regular Pikmin experience with this, but hopefully it does well because of it.
Yeah, well, I want to talk a little bit about what we might be able to expect. So, excuse me. We know that most likely there's going to be waypoints, much like there are in other Niantic games. My guess is that these are going to be onions. I have a feeling that the waypoints are going to be the onions. You're going to be walking around collecting things that will spawn in a similar way that Pokemon spawn. It could be people are saying, oh, you'll walk around and collect Pikmin, but we do know that the Pikmin walk with you So it would make more sense to me that you would go out, collect stuff, have the Pikmin carry it, and then have to take these trips to the onions to like refresh your Pikmin, which is similar to how these games typically work. But the fact that they're saying it's very different from Pokemon Go makes me, full of questions. And I'm not super familiar with their other games, Ingress or Harry Potter, and how they work, but I do know that they are different from Pokemon Go. So I don't know if it's going to be like that different or if it's going to be like significantly different. But I have a lot of high hopes. What I would like to see are enemies in some capacity and like combat, because I feel like that's the kind of thing that's going to keep people interested in the game for a long period of time. That's where a lot of replayability is going to be coming in.
Yeah.
I feel like they can add updates to add new enemies and stuff. What I hope doesn't happen with this game is that they add like a gazillion Pikmin types. Like, I have a feeling they're going to add at least one Pikmin type. I feel like something for this, they just kind of have to. I feel like that's a marketing thing,
Yeah, like
They just go to DeviantArt and they just scroll. They type in Pikmin idea, and then they just go and they just like save every single image they come across. There's pictures on there from like 2003 that they're saving.
Finally, green Pikmin.
What were you gonna say, Quote?
I could sort of see it sort of be like the Melmetal sort of thing for Pokemon Go, like an only exclusive Pikmin just for the app.
Yeah, kind of like that.
My hope with that then is because didn't Melmetal and whatever it evolved into, couldn't they be transferred into a Pokemon game?
Yes,
they can, but they can only be evolved in the Go thing.
Oh, okay, but
Yeah.
still, something like that, I would like that then to be, if we go off of the pattern of every time there's a mobile game that gets released, a new game comes out shortly thereafter, that in that Pikmin game, there'll be, like, you can transfer of that special Pikmin type from Go to that game. I just don't want them to be anything game-breaking. Because I would like the idea of... Because I like it when all games in a specific series are canon, because even if it makes things crazy or hectic, I think that's fun. Mm-hmm. And so if they make a specific Pikmin type for like green Pikmin, for example, I think it would be cool for let's just say Pikmin 4, because I feel it's inevitable they're going to add new Pikmin types in that game already, that they have the data for the specific Pokemon from Go, and it gets ported over, but it's anything like extreme. Like, it could easily just be something like, oh, it's like a fodder kind of Pikmin, where it doesn't have any special abilities, or it gives you really weird like ability, like, oh, it uses the capabilities of augmented reality to see things for you, and it can mark out enemies or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, just like a little bonus you could just get for playing the game.
Yeah, I don't want it to be something like, oh, it's immune to all elements and hazards. It's a Bulbmin, and then it just becomes a surface Bulbmin. Or, best yet, there's just cosmetic related things. Like, I feel like if there's going to be a specific Pikmin type to the game, it would be like a Bulbmin or something, or it'll be like literally just like a red Pikmin, but it's colored green. And so you can get a green Pikmin skin for red Pikmin in 4. Or something like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just hope that if they do like try to add like a new type of Pikmin, that they at least consider the effects that it might have on the mainline series. Like, that's just what I hope.
Yeah, I want people to actually know about Pikmin.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if we could get a Pikmin game that would outsell Splatoon 2.
Oh man,
that'd be crazy.
Like, and that's the lowest out of the top 10 selling.
I mean, they get 2 games on one console. That could be us.
So I'd like to see something like that be the result.
Yeah, because my collection's going to go way up in value. I'm doing this all for the investment, guys.
You already got 7 Pikmin 1 game.
I gotta watch those stocks rise.
Yeah, Nathan's invested in Pikmin stock. The year is now 2071.
Pikmin's running dry.
Pikmin 56 is just released. It's considered to be the best in 20 years. Nathan prepares to sell his Pikmin collection enough to purchase the moon.
Pikmin Moon Edition.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
I'd like
man.
to see Olimar in some capacity in this game, probably as like a mentor kind of character, like how Professor Willow worked in Pokemon.
Yeah,
Go.
I can see him. I can honestly see him having like the little Olimar videos in 3 Deluxe, or like in 3 and 3
Yeah.
Deluxe, like "Hello, I'm Captain Olimar," something like that, where it's like a pre-recorded thing, and you're just finding stuff for him.
Right.
I could see it being something super simple.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
The quest, like the quest that the professor gives you in Go, I could sort of see that just being the president's like what he wants you to do.
That
Yeah.
could work.
That'd be cool.
Like, hey, get money or something of the sorts, get more Pikmin.
Yeah, we could
all
all
that
be
stuff.
Hokotate employees. That'd be
Well,
funny.
if you pick Team Hokotate, if that's his team, if that's the thing.
Team Copipe, but you have to physically starve yourself in order to play.
So I made a joke in Pickopedia the other day that this is going to be the first Pikmin game with night mode.
You imagine you just open your game like late at night and immediately just get killed by tons of enemies around you.
Yeah.
The thing I hate about inside jokes is that people watching won't really understand.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just gonna share that this is something that Nathan's been asking for like as long as we've known him. And I keep saying no, that kind of defeats the purpose of the time limit in Pikmin. And it's kind of just been a running meme of sorts, but the fact that you brought it up.
Like I could agree with Sushi on this though, because I would love a night mode. It's like a risk and reward factor to it, you know? More
Right.
songs.
Don't give Nathan strength.
I agree to this idea though. I wanted it since I was like 10.
Same. Nah, but I do actually hope that there would be some it would be cool to have some sort of timer in this game of some sort, like some sort of urgency that isn't, you know, oh, do this or else. Not like the microtransaction urgency that I'm talking about, but like, you know, some gameplay element urgency.
Yeah,
That'd
that'd be nice. I'd like to see, because again, I don't know anything about Go. Doesn't it with Pokemon Go? They have like timed events.
Yeah, like for gyms and like raids and all that.
Yeah, I could see something like that. Although, again, when it comes to Pikmin, I don't think they'll have like teams to choose from. I think it's going to be really more of a you're playing it to your own pace, but it'll be like, oh, there's someone nearby who also has this game, and then you can interact with them to some degree.
The whole
Battling,
thing,
trading.
the whole thing with Pokemon Go was that it's very competitive based.
Yeah.
Which works in its favor. I mean, it's Pokemon. That's what Pokemon is. But for Pikmin, I'm not sure they're going to give it the same look. But I would like to see some sort of social multiplayer situation to it. And you know, to a degree, this might be the first online Pikmin game.
I'd like to see them have integrations with like the My Nintendo app or something, like with the new servers and everything. I think it'd be cool if they were to bring back something like Miitomo. What was it? Miitomo?
Yeah, Miitomo.
Something like that, but it would be like for, you know, oh, hey, there's this, you know, cool event going down over on, you know, Broadway in Maine at the Game Zone. Let's go there. And, you know, they have a special event where if you show up, you can get a code for something. You know, you get a free pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always I was telling this to a friend before in DMs, like for, you know how like raids you need everyone else with you.
Mhm.
I always imagine like saying like, what if those raids could be like Pikmin boss battles? You just need a lot of people with just to fight. Like a Snagger, for example, somewhere.
The only thing that would be, I feel that would only work well is if we know for sure there's going to be a lot of people playing it actively. Because it worked well with Pokemon because there were so many people playing it. like, what was it? Wasn't the whole thing with the Mewtwo in New York when it first came out? Like, wasn't it? Didn't it only take like a couple hours for there to be enough people to beat the crap out of Mewtwo?
Yeah, it was. I
It'd
mean,
be like a 24-hour event, and then they got cleared like a couple times.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they can scale those things. For example, they have raids in Pokemon Go that it's like, yeah, you can beat this raid by yourself. And then they'll have a raid that's like, okay, maybe you need 2 people for this one or 3 people for this one. So, they scale it. So you don't necessarily need, they can adjust those things based on how active the player base is.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Again, I don't know anything about Ghost, so I feel like I really shouldn't talk about stuff too much here.
Yeah, but I'm super stoked for this. I have a lot of hopes and dreams on what this could entail, but I know I'm probably going to be buying a better phone just for this game because my other phone kind of going on the down. I need
my phone is kind of on its way out.
My phone's always full on memory. It only has 8 gigabytes on it. I need more.
Yeah. I hope, I don't think they will, but I hope they don't do anything weird like iOS only for 2 weeks or something, because that would make me mad.
I hope not.
Yeah, I have an Android phone, so
Have you ever done anything like that before?
Well, some companies do. I don't think Niantic has per se, but it's always something in the back of my mind. Because I guess with this it wouldn't necessarily be the thing because it's a free to play game, and I guess the main logic behind that is the piracy issue on Android. So it's probably not really much to be scared about on that.
But
front.
yeah, even then, I feel like at this point, like I feel like at this point, I think at like a majority of companies know that piracy is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, this is something I just found out, which I thought was hilarious. So Monster Hunter Rise got leaked like 2 weeks early by Amazon. So there are people with physical copies that were trying to, upload rips of the game to emulators. And it turns out that Capcom put in the simplest way to stop it from being played on emulators, which is you have to take a picture using the Switch photo button and then look at it.
Huh.
It is such a simple thing, but emulators can't do this. The only way that people were able to get past was if someone had a rip of the game after all the character customization and after that specific point in the tutorial.
That's sneaky.
It's and there are people who were genuinely mad, and I'm sitting there thinking this is a genius thing.
That is. That's genius.
Like, it's nothing like old games where it's like, oh, you get this evil message or the game becomes unplayable. It's literally just like, fine, you're gonna pirate it, take a picture.
Yeah, that was a big problem with like the Wii U emulation at first, because it was like all the games required the gamepad. And it was like you couldn't really emulate that. You couldn't really hack the gamepad or connect it to your computer. So it kind of took a really long time for Wii U to get emulation. And then, as soon as the Switch came out, emulation was like that, and it's already yeah. But anyway, I don't think I have much more to say about this other than I'm super excited for it, and I'm probably going to spend a lot of money on it and a lot of time.
My whole thing is, I hope that like for people, because I'm getting more hours at work, and it's going to be closing shifts. I'm hoping that they're going to be at least somewhat more user friendly in terms of like, oh, there's going to be events for people who have to get up early in the morning, as opposed to people who have to like they can't play during high business hours, which is usually about 5 p.m. PST to like 8 p.m. PST. That's considered high traffic hours because that's when people are getting off work, getting home from work, getting home from school, all that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that there's just going to be some way that for someone like me who gets to work a little before peak hours, we'll be able to play and participate in specific events and everything. That's my biggest hope.
Yeah, that's a big one. But I know with Pokemon Go, they pretty much had things going fairly actively throughout the entire day, and most of the big events were scheduled on the weekends.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, but I work weekends.
oh,
Oh,
Don't get to play then.
sorry, chap.
sorry, no bread bug event for you, man.
Oh, one thing I just want to say that I hope we see Hey Pikmin enemies. Because
if we
Hey
see enemies at
Pikmin-
all.
Yeah, if we see enemies at all, I'd like to see Hey Pikmin enemies because I just think that'd be cool. Like,
See, I said I wouldn't like them to add Pikmin types, but I'd be perfectly fine with them adding enemies in this game.
exactly. That's like the big thing. If they don't add Pikmin types, I'd love to see. I'd like to see dwarf. What were they called? A young, fiery yellow Wollywog.
Yeah, that's a long name.
I honestly hate that enemy so much.
I just love it because they really had the audacity to do that and
I
then
know.
went through with it.
I
Like
know,
that
they
is just the cockiest thing ever.
It is. It's like, yeah, we
They-
could make a new enemy to do this, but no.
They just look. It's like, what if it's on fire?
I'd like to see now a fully grown fiery yellow Wollywog. I want to see the
no.
name. It's like in Team Fortress 2, you want your weapon to have the longest name possible because it's absolutely stupid. Like Collector Strange, Festive, Kill Streak, Professional, Flamethrower or something like that. And it's like it takes up like half the screen to read all the descriptions and parts you've added onto it. If someone looks at it and their computer's old, it crashes. Something like that. I want to see something like that.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just make like a new Wollywog type for that thing though. Like just call it the Fiery Wollywog. But whatever.
That'd be the easy way.
Yeah.
Say what?
They took the hard route. They knew exactly who their player base was and was like, we're going hard.
They gotta describe in detail what the frog is.
It's like Pot of Greed in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. It's not Pot of Greed, it's Pot of Greed, which allows you to draw 2 cards from your deck and either play them or go directly to your hand.
Oh man, I'm just too hot. I'm just all I know about this game is I'm gonna be addicted just like how my dad is with Pokemon Go right now. He's been playing it ever since the game came out.
Wow.
And I know I'm gonna be just like him when this game comes out. That's for sure.
Yeah. Me
Yeah,
too.
my whole thing, I'm excited for it, but I'm not hyped yet because there isn't information for me to go off of. For sure, once they start actually talking about information,
We should
they
talk
actually
about
have it out, all that.
Yeah, we should talk about the date. So it says 2021 this year, but I think we all know it's probably going to come out before or during the summer, which is when you would play a game like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not far away, really.
Yeah, and I think they're gonna also probably do something because a lot more companies have been doing this where they have a private beta
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah.
people were basically randomly selected by the sorting hat if they can get in or not.
So go sign up on that sign up sheet.
Yeah,
Niantic's
Gotta
Twitter.
get lucky.
I'm hoping that they have something like a clan system. I always just have liked that idea where you can like everyone's part of a team and there can be Team Pickcord, Team Pickopedia.
Mm-hmm.
And then there could be ones like, Team Chugga Conroy. Because God knows, I feel like someone like Chugga Conroy would have something like that.
Oh,
Or
of course.
It's
Team
should be
Nintendo,
called-
like there's a Nintendo official one that people can join, stuff like that.
Flamesy says, looks like I'm talking my dogs out a lot more. much more.
And so I'm definitely excited for it. Oh, yeah, like excited, interested, not hyped, but just because there's nothing for me to be hyped for yet.
Cool. Well, I think then that pretty much wraps us up. Anybody else have anything else that they would like to add?
I think
Not
I'm
that I can
here.
think of.
Oh, if you didn't see the Pikmin Community Direct on Jimble's channel, which you probably did, but go look at that if you haven't,
Yeah.
because that was
Yeah.
really cool.
There's some cool stuff.
Up there.
My favorite, because we're not really going to talk about it, but my favorite is Pikmin 2 Deluxe. I just like the idea of that, and Scruffy did a good job with the music.
My favorite, like coming soon, is Pikmin 2 Deluxe, but my favorite released now is definitely Pikmin Wars. That was so funny.
Is that the
Yeah.
one where it's like you play Doom at one point, like it
Yeah.
switches between the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude,
I
it's
wanna
so
play
fun.
I
Play it.
I played through it and it was amazing and something else.
Yeah, if you don't have the ability to, emulate, go watch it on Quote's channel.
Oh, you did a Let's Play? I need to watch that then.
I just recorded like with no commentary on it. I just had fun shooting things. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. I've played it probably 3 different times, showing it to different people.
I just remember when that came up and it started playing the Doom theme, but it was in the Pikmin 2 sound
Yeah.
font. And everyone else was like, what is this? A Pikmin shooter? And I'm like, it's Pikmin Doom! It's Pikmin Doom!
I always joke about saying, what if Olimar has a gun? And I'm happy that's a thing now.
Give Olimar a Glock.
Fake darts aren't the same in PNF 4 anymore.
Welcome to Grove Street on PNF 404.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Oh man.
Josh, well, would you like to do the honors?
Yeah, so thank you everybody for coming in and watching this kind of impromptu Pikcast. Hopefully there will be more information in the near future that we will be able to start getting into the groove of doing Pikcasts again. Hopefully with the Pikmin Go, whatever they're going to call it, that'll really allow us to do kind of a weekly, well, maybe not weekly, but bi-weekly, bi-monthly, monthly Pikcast, at least get us into a groove again, because if it's as successful as Go, there's going to be lots of updates. So,
For sure.
but once again, thank you everybody for watching, and with that,
Woo!
All right, y'all. See y'all next time.
yeah.
See